All right then guys, welcome to the video, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to what has been a video I have had in my brain wanting to happen for about a year now, and I've literally had parts sat around for 6 months for this, so I'm very excited today. As you can see, the car is on the ramp. I'm down at Ignite Automotive and there is a whole host of things going on. I think it's just going to be easier to show you rather than explain it, so let's jump to the engine room with Joel to talk through all of the stuff that's going on with this thing today. On this table behind me, we have got a load of stuff that is going in my engine. So just as a quick overview, we've got some new stem seals, the 4-jet oil squirters for the bottom of the engine, a new PCV valve as well, genuine Honda timing chain and tensioner, rocker cover gasket and everything, which actually comes with what's in that box, but we'll get onto that later. And then we have 2 lots of the AP2 retainer upgrade kit from Tegawa. So one of these kits covers you for one side, so intake or exhaust. So I bought 2 of the same thing because I'm replacing exhaust and intake. And the reason I'm doing this is it is known that the pre-facelift or AP1 retainers can crack due to over revving. This usually does only happen on the intake side, but as you can see, if you don't do it, this is what can happen to your engine. I will leave a link to all of these parts that I got from Tegawa down in the description box below if you want to pick up this stuff. Also, new oil filter as well, forgot to mention that. Also, a couple of little jobs that have to happen as well. Rear ABS sensor, genuine Honda. The handbrake mechanism on my driver's side rear caliper is causing a problem, so that is another one. But this slice of JDM goodness plus this titanium stuff from BOLTSBOLTS here. We'll talk about that later on when we get to that point of the video. So Joel, what's the plan?
So first thing we're doing, getting the car from the lift, getting the engine up to TDC, timing the engine up, removing the rock cover, removing all the cams and bits and pieces so we can access all these parts. So we're going to be compressing all the springs and stuff with the head in situ. Once that's removed, first thing we're doing is new set of ASM oil seals for how far we're going inside to the engine for a very minimal cost. It just makes sense to do as well. So there, we're using OEM springs, and then we will be putting the new retainers and the collets in. The reason for these is to help keep the valve control and prevent catastrophic engine failure from a valve dropping into the engine, because once that happens it is game over. And as we both know, the price of F20 engines now has certainly got its premium to it, so anything we do preventative maintenance is well worthwhile. Also guys, the plan for me long term is that I am going to supercharge the car, so all of this stuff is also good for that kind of thing too. From my understanding, and leave a comment down below if this is wrong, so my car's an early 2002 car, and I believe that F20C is the most undeveloped version of the engine compared to our facelift S2000 F20Cs here in the UK. What I've tried to do, and this is also with a huge shout out to the 9K Everyday guys, they have said this is all the stuff that I need to kind of bring the engine up to the most up to date it can be. Let's get going, I guess. Yes, yeah, let's get over to the car and start pulling it apart. Here we go, the rocker cover is coming off. This is going to be the first time I've ever seen inside this engine. Hopefully we find nothing bad. Just having to remove a bracket at the back so that this can actually come off. Joel, it's looking pretty good in here, to be honest. Yeah, so you can see that the coloration of everything on the internals of the engine looks pretty good. So it's a good sign of it's had regular oil changes, good maintenance, etc. Which on the Honda engines, with the RPM and stuff they do, the oil quality is a huge part of it. Now that we're at this point, what is the next step? We are going to time the engine up. So you turn the crank over, get piston 1 to TDC. We're at a point where we're all timed up. It does look like we've got the ever so slight amount of timing chain stretch, but it is very minimal. Another good reason for replacing the timing chain whenever you're doing a job like this. A lot of manufacturers will say it's a lifetime component, but we do firmly believe it is something that should be accounted for in our service schedules. Next step is going to be getting the crank pulley off, and as you can see, this area is clear here as well. There's a coolant pipe that runs across there, so that's been draining it down into there, and that's because you can see the chain here itself is obviously running down the front there, so this whole piece needs to come off to be able to access that chain. Got a special tool. This is for Honda engines. Got the hex drive around there, so that actually locks into the hex drive on the crank pulley. So what that basically means is we can hold it with this tool and we can get a socket internally on there and undo that. Anyone who's ever done the Honda engines before will know the crank pulley box can be ridiculously tight. Now that it's been loosened, look at how much easier this thing's coming out now. The car is up in the air currently because there are some bolts. These ones that Joel's already removed here. These bolts go through the sump and then into the timing chain cover area. So those out first, and then bring the car back down.
cover is off and it is over here, and again looking very clean and how it should, which is nice. Joel's currently now working on getting the tensioner out. Everything in here looking nice and healthy. And the tensioner is out, and this had pretty much completely extended, so another sign to show that the chain had already stretched. Guides are now coming out, and it's something you don't actually need to replace on these. Same with the K20, unless you skip timing or something. These never actually really get damaged, and this one you can see absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just an extra expense that you don't really need to commit to, really. So the chain is off down the bottom, and interestingly, this is different from my K series where you've got an intermediary gear that's running so you see the chains there. This is obviously dropped down now because it's not mounted, and it runs these two, which then run each side of the cams. So this is as far as we can go with this until all of this is coming out. These should just lift out now that they're completely freed off. So this cable tie is going around it so it doesn't all fall apart and go into pieces, because that would be very bad. This is now officially the most apart I've ever had any of my engines. And obviously now all of that is off. This is what I was talking about earlier about how easy it is to lift this out now. These are the lost motion springs. They don't actually have to come out, but it's easier just to get them out because it's one less thing that can fall and go wrong. So you can see where they're being pulled out from. They are these in here. Super easy, they just lift straight out. Also, again, looking super healthy in here. Nothing to ring any sort of alarm bells at all. We are now getting to the point where new stuff is gonna start going into the engine. So Joel is gonna unpackage all of this stuff and clean it up. So he's gonna lay it out so it's all ready to go. And there we go, I've just unpackaged all of these. All of this is going in the brake parts cleaner to then go on the tray. It's so mad that all of that packaging was all for just this. So this is actually a job that you would usually do, or the main issue is on the intake side, but I've decided to do all of it because why not? This is the way of doing it without having to take the head off. So Joel, what are we doing?
We've got our tool here, which is bolted to cylinder head. So we're going to use this to compress the valve spring. So obviously we've got to be able to compress the valve spring in order to be able to remove the collets out of there, to be able to remove the retainer and take the spring out. So use a little magnet here to take the collets out, and then we get all the assembly out. We're using the compressed air in here, so it's pressurising the cylinders to keep the valves up into the head, so obviously the valve doesn't drop out. So hopefully all goes well. So obviously what we've got happening at the moment is, as we're trying to compress this, it is pushing the actual valve down into the cylinder, so it is letting the air pass. So basically we've got to try and break the seal from the two collets around to the retainer, so that can sometimes take a couple of goes of compressing it, releasing it, to try and get that to release. As we're compressing this, we're now exposing the collets. So we're going to press these down, use the magnet to get in there. So this removes the collets, can then remove the spring and the retainer. So that's our two collets, so obviously we're replacing those. We are keeping the OEM springs.
The reason I'm keeping the OEM spring and not upgrading those is because it's not actually really needed for the power levels that I'm going to be going for, even supercharged. My plan is about 350 wheel horsepower, 400 brake horsepower or so, and these can handle that. We have noticed some differences between the stuff coming out and the stuff going in. You can see that there's actually more of a taper on the new one going in than there is on the one that's just come out. Also, that must mean that these have been updated to be able to fit into the different machining on there. Whilst we're here as well, stem seals going in. This is the one that's just come out and this is the new one going in. I don't actually know if these are any different. And on the subject of stem seals, it's time to remove the one off of the engine and actually replace it with one of the new ones.
This is our old stem seal. So literally just a case of just pull those off. I'm going to go to our new stem seal, some oil in there, just to lubricate it so we know the stem seal glides on as it should. Obviously we have only got pressure from the airline holding the valve, so we're mindful to not try and knock it around too much. So what we're going to do here is just very gently knock this seal down, and then we'll feel that till it goes into its home position, and you can see it's all nicely seated. Here we have got one of our new retainers, so we're going to pop that onto the top of the spring, and we grab a couple of the collets ready to go. So that is with this spring compressed. So now comes the fiddly parts. is that one replaced?
The plan is repeat that process
15 more times or 14 more times.
Yeah, so we've already done one to just check everything was going to work. So yeah, 14 more times. Let's go. And we are back for day 2. The next job is actually the car's going to go up and the sump's going to come off. And this is the timing chain, new and old, next to each other. And as you can see, this is ever so slightly stretched. This isn't anywhere near as much as my Civic was actually. Just draining the oil out, as you can see, and oil's coming out because the sump's coming off to be able to get to where the oil squirter jet things are. And to take the sump off, we've got to take out these bell house bolts here. So these have already been cracked off. And then we've got the aircon pump, which obviously my car's got aircon, not that it works. So that's got to come off as well. And then you can see all the hardware around, which actually mates it to the engine. So all of that's going to get undone so this piece can actually drop out. And again, under here, looking pretty healthy, nice and golden, which is good. Does need an oil change anyway, so again, this is very convenient. Interesting development. We've taken one of them out just to check whether this was actually something that was worth doing before pulling even more stuff out of the engine, because it was really easy to get to cylinder 4's oil jet. And it turns out they're exactly the same. I don't know when the transition between changing from the 2 to the 4 would have been, but my engine has them, and it looks like this engine's never been opened from underneath. So I would say these have been in here since it was brand new. You can see these holes here, so this has 4 holes and earlier models only had 2. It, I guess, saves us some time, and I don't know how you would ever actually know whether yours has the 2 or the 4. Either way, this was completely pointless, and I've got these that I now don't need. There's also no point in putting these new ones in because they are exactly the same as the ones that are already in there. There won't be any benefit. If this is a job that you do actually have to end up doing, you see that hole there, that is where this has come out from. For context, this is the back of cylinder 4 that you can see. I'm very glad that we took this one out because getting to the other 3 would have been an absolute nightmare. And now the car is back down. We can see all of this stuff is completely finished now. Also, all of the blue dots are paint pens so that it was obvious what had been done and what hadn't yet. And here we have all of the new bits, or bits that have been cleaned up, ready to go back on. So this is the new tensioner here. We've also got the chain soaking. So whilst the engine is in this pulled apart state, I thought might as well talk about how VTEC works. So Joel, how does VTEC work?
So this is what you call the 3-lobe VTEC. On normal engine setups, what you'd have is the 2 outer rockers here. These rockers here open and close the valves. So what we've got on here is actually a 3rd lobe. So when we're normally running, we'll be running on these 2 lower lobes. When we want the higher profile on the cam, what actually happens is, if we see inside here, we've actually got that little pin there. So the oil pressure pushes the pins out, which locks the centre lobe to the outer one. So that will mean that we'll actually run on the centre lobe, which is the higher profile on the cam.
The reason for that is that you basically get better fuel economy, lower RPM, which makes it easier to live with day to day because you don't end up with all the negatives of running a bigger cam, whilst also the benefits of running a bigger cam higher in the rev range, which is where that bigger cam works better anyway.
Yes, yeah.
And whilst Joel is continuing on sorting out everything in the engine, we've also got Fraser at the back sorting out an issue I created for myself, which was when we installed the Spoon diff bushes in the rear. The video we were following said we had to remove the ABS sensor. We tried doing that, couldn't get it out, ended up removing a bracket. In the process of trying to remove it, we ended up breaking it seems. So I've had to order a genuine one from Japan, and that's now getting installed by Fraser. And also I've got an issue with the driver's side rear caliper. That means that even though the cable itself is moving on the handbrake, the mechanism on the caliper isn't working. Double things happening on this car at the same time. This is the part number for the ABS sensor on the passenger side. Here goes the pin coming out to put tension back on the chain. There you go. Crazy that you've got to do through this hole. It's not as easy as doing it on the K series. So all of these bits, although it looks like they're going on for the final time, this is purely just to fully retime the engine back to how it should be. So you can see all these blue marks all over, and that is because we're getting the engine to top dead center. Is that right?
Yeah, so what we've done first is on our crank pulley down here, we've got a notch on the crank pulley and we've got this mark on our timing chain cover. Hence the reason why we've just briefly put this cover back on. This is our mark to indicate that piston 1 is at top dead center. Up from the crankshaft gear up to the intermediate gear is we actually have coloured links. So if you see, we've got the 2 coloured links there on the intermediate shaft that are a different colour to the rest. So that indicates our timing mark. So 2 coloured links into the centre of the dot on the intermediate shaft. And then what we have got is, I have actually highlighted these in blue. It might look slightly off from the angle that the camera's up. We've got the 2 marks here which line up parallel with each other, and they line up with this part of the casing there. So the gap in the casing there, straight across to each other, so they line up to those. So that indicates that our engine is now all timed up.
The next step is now finish torquing down everything, but then this comes back off.
So like you said, we're going to torque down all the cams, remove the front cover, put some sealant on there, put that back on, install that and torque that all down. And then obviously one thing we will do just before we put the rock cover and stuff back on is we are going to do the valve clearances as well. So as I'm sure many of you are aware, doing the valve clearances is part of the service schedule on the Honda. So you know, any of the FKs, any of the engines that have adjustable valve clearances, it's something we do recommend, but we haven't physically changed anything. But obviously whilst we're there, it just makes sense to do those from a service point of view.
And whilst all that has been happening, Fraser has done this rear caliper. We've just tested it. Handbrake section of this thing is working, which is great. So this still needs bleeding. The ABS sensor is being a nightmare on the other side though, as expected. Timing cover is back off, fully cleaned up and ready for some new sealant to go on for this to actually be fitted for the final time. So this thing is ready to go back in now, and this is a new front crank seal as well. And if you're curious on the torque specs for all of this sort of stuff, here you go. This is every single thing. Pretty wild that this is 245 newtons. Up next, it is time to get the old sealant off the bottom of the engine. So the sump, as you can see, super clean now and has got the gasket stuff ready on it to go back on. And also now under here, this mating surface is super clean as well. So this is all ready. So time for the sump to go back on. This is the genuine Honda oil filter that came off, and I thought I'd bought the wrong one because this is way bigger than the one I have. This is the Hamp one that I've got. It does actually look like it is going to fit. The only downside I suppose to this compared to this is this holds more oil, but this is going to work completely fine. So it turns out I didn't order the wrong one. This is going to go in and then the car can come back down. We're at the point where this is getting torqued up. All the ancillaries and everything are going back together to make this back into a fully functioning car, and that also does include the rocker cover. It is now time to show you what I have in the box. This is quite possibly the most exciting part of the video for me. As wonderful as the red looks, let's be honest, this was always going to happen at some point. I have actually ended up getting a Spoon rocker cover from Japan. I couldn't resist. This is going to be the final piece of yellow and the piece that's going to tie all of the other yellow bits together. So I'm super hyped on this. I've wanted this for years and years. I even contemplated doing it with the EP3, but just the yellow didn't work with the theme of the build. So this has worked out perfectly. Now, could I have just got this painted yellow? Absolutely. Seeing this side by side with the OEM one, there is one difference, which is where the PCV mounts. And that does mean that it looks like I don't actually need the new PCV valve that I've bought. Also, the good thing about ordering this from Spoon is it does also come with a genuine Honda full seal kit, which is great. Now, to go along with this, and this is something I alluded to when I installed a couple of other bits in the engine bay, and that was some burnt titanium hardware. Now, what is sick about this is I reached out to BOLTSBOLTS. I basically went to them with a product idea for them, and they actually ended up liking that, so more on that soon. But off the back of that, we got talking, and BOLTSBOLTS has jumped on board to support the channel. So whether you want any of this burnt titanium hardware, they do raw titanium, but they have a whole host of other colors and stuff, like absolutely loads of options, and you can literally spec it out for whatever you want. So for example, this is the stuff for the rocker cover, 4 bolts for the spark plug cover, which I will get onto, and then I custom spec'd how many of these washers that I wanted for the engine bay. Even just with the yellow, it looks good, and the fact that there's the blue, oh, I cannot wait. If you guys want to pick up anything from the BOLTSBOLTS website, which I will leave in the description below if you want to go check them out, you can also use my code Olly10 to save yourself 10% on your order as well. So huge shout out to BOLTSBOLTS for supporting this one, and more on BOLTSBOLTS in the future as well. But this is the cherry on top for me. Again, as you know, this is the JDM Dream Build, and in this box is another one of those grail pieces that I just always wanted to own. In here we have this. This is the ASM full carbon spark plug cover. This thing is like full pre-preg carbon. It's made by Challenge, who they make loads of really cool parts. They even make the rear diffuser for Nissan R35 GTRs, I found out earlier. The thing I didn't know about this is the ASM writing is actually raised slightly. This piece on here is going to look unreal with this hardware. And I've got to give a massive shout out to Kenny. He's got a sick S2000 with loads of carbon bits on it. He was able to help me source this, so definitely go hit him up if you want some parts as well. I'll leave his Instagram on screen. Just drop him a DM and he can help you source bits from Japan or get you some of those carbon bits he's got on his car as well. So let's start by getting the Spoon rocker cover on the car. So whilst everything's been happening at the front of the engine, Fraser's been attacking this rear ABS sensor that has been an absolute nightmare. Well, I didn't realize there was this much stuff inside one of those sensors, so I kind of understand now why they're so expensive. But this thing got seized in, so it's now at a point where this is going to get cleaned up, ready for the new sensor to go in. I'm going to leave Fraser to carry on. This is mental though. Absolutely crazy. Joel has just gone around and checked all of the valve clearances, and they're all bang on, which is great. I did get told this got done before I bought the car, and this proves that that was the case. Now the cam sensors are being taken out of the OEM one, and they're going to be transferred into the shiny new Spoon one. This is PCV, so this is getting tightened up now, and Joel has given me some stainless box for this. I am going to have to contact BOLTSBOLTS and get these in burnt titanium as well, because that was something I didn't even think about. The gasket's going in. It's had some red grease on this as well to give it a bit of flexibility and a bit longer life. The time has finally come. I'm actually also going to help Joel put this on, because then at least I can say that I have helped with at least something in this video. I've created a massive problem for myself with this, for the fact that any sort of dirt on it is so obvious. So those spark plug seals were very good at sealing.
Yes,
Oh my god, it looks sick. So next up is getting the silver bits off. So here is what they actually look like. These are the OEM bits. These are actually bonded on, we found out. Breaking those away so that the burnt titanium bits can go on, and it's just gonna look like that. Okay, I have just been a massive idiot, but it's worked in my favor big time. So I ended up ordering another 4 of these because I didn't think that I actually got these 4 bolts for the rocker cover kit. Turns out that they were in the kit the whole time and I was just rubbish at counting. But what it does mean is I have 4 extra, and that does mean that I don't need to go and get more of these to be able to put them on the cam sensors. So I've actually help myself out by being an idiot. Now this is very hard to show on camera, but in person this looks way nicer. Now on go the titanium caps, and again it's a bit dark so you can't really tell on camera, but this is going to look so good when out in daylight. Whilst Joel is cracking on the engine, I'm going to start swapping over all of these washers. So this is for things like this around the engine bay. It is now time for some oil to go in. And as another little final piece before it all gets fully buttoned up, we have got some Mishimoto radiator hoses. We're going to install these in now because we had to break the coolant system to be able to do the timing chain anyway. Time to get these off, as you can see, starting already. It's quite lucky that we were actually doing this, because it turns out I'm amazed this has held. Fair play to the clamp for hanging on for as long as it has, because this thing's nowhere near where it should be. In terms of oil caps, I can't actually decide what to go for, so I'm just going to be putting the standard one back on. The list that I currently have is the Acuity burnt titanium one to go with all the burnt titanium stuff, but I don't know if it'll be too much burnt titanium. The Feels one, crazy expensive, but would look good, it's silver. There's the Spoon one, but I feel like everyone runs the Spoon one. Jay's Racing, but I don't want the red text from that one, so if they do one that doesn't have red text, that would be ideal. There's a Buddy Club one, but I can't seem to find anyone selling it. If you've got any other suggestions of some cool JDM brands that would look good in this engine bay, I'm thinking either silver or black. I'm undecided, but just one of those things that I haven't figured out just yet, so that's why this is going back on. And this hose is finally out after an absolute battle. So it's finally time for the new ones to go in. There's no way I'm actually going to be able to show where this hose is actually going to run. This is me showing you it going in. It'll be in, fully installed in the next clip. And there you go. You can see also got Jubilee clamps on this now, which is going to be much nicer. So thank you very much. And you can see that this runs, well, can you see? It's so dark up in here. You can see it runs along here and then goes into the block there. And now it's time for the under trays to go back on under here. The car's going to come down and going to get some coolant in it, start just basically buttoning everything up. We're getting closer, guys. We're getting closer. Right, it is time to crank this thing for the first time and we can see whether everything's all good. Hate this beeping. For reference, everyone, the car's done 87,347 miles. Spark plug's going back in and the coil pack's going back in now. It's time for the first start. Hey, and the ABS light's gone off. Yes! The final piece of the puzzle, the ASM spark plug cover, is going on. It does actually have 4 little washers taped in here to go on top. Here we go. I do feel like a bit of a fraud doing this because I haven't done any of the extra work, but all I want to do is wipe it down all the time though. That's a problem. Oh my God, look at that. Is done and oh my God, does it look sick. And obviously it's working as well. So this is a huge win because getting the ABS sorted and the rear brake was just an added bonus. Plus getting these radiator hoses on, didn't think that was going to happen either. So there's been so much that's happened in this video. So a massive shout out to Ignite for actually having me down and doing all of this work on the car. Super, super happy with how it's all turned out. And I'm pretty sure you guys can agree, this looks insane compared to what it looked like when it arrived. Check out Ignite in the description below. I'm going to leave all the details you need to book in your car because as you've seen throughout this video, the work is insane. The JDM dream build continues. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below on what you think of this thing now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.